Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to tackle one of pottery's biggest, or should I say, smallest, mysteries, clay shrinkage. And more importantly, how you can plan for it to get the perfect size every single time.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You spend hours, maybe even days, getting a piece just right, and then you pull it from the kiln and it's a miniature. It's like a tiny, sad version of what you intended. So frustrating. But here's the thing. That shrinkage surprise, it doesn't actually have to be a surprise. It's a totally predictable part of making ceramics, and there's a really simple way to get ahead of it. So what's actually going on here? Well, it's not you, it's just physics. See, your clay is full of water. As it dries, and then as it gets fired, that water leaves. And when it goes, all the little clay particles have to huddle closer together to fill in the gaps. That's what causes the whole piece to get smaller. It's a completely natural thing. Okay, but here's where it gets interesting. Not all clays are created equal when it comes to shrinking. The amount your piece shrinks is going to depend entirely on the kind of clay you're working with. And you can really see the difference here. You've got earthenware on the low end, shrinking maybe 5 to 8%. Then there's stoneware, kind of in the middle, around 10 to 13%. But then you get to porcelain. Wow, that stuff can shrink a whopping 12 to 15%. Why? Well, porcelain particles are super fine, so they can hold a ton more water. And when all that extra water leaves, you get a lot more shrinkage. It makes a huge difference. And this is a really important point. You should think of these numbers as great guidelines, a ballpark figure, not as absolute law. Your specific clay brand, the personality of your kiln, your firing schedule, all of that can make these numbers dance around a little bit. So, now that we know all this, what do we actually do with this information? Well, let's walk through a super simple plan to get the size you want every time. It's really just a simple 3-step process. You're basically just working backward. First, you decide exactly how big you want your finished piece to be. Second, you figure out the average shrinkage rate for your clay. And third, you do a quick bit of math to figure out how big your starting piece needs to be to make up for that shrinkage. So, for example, let's say you're making a mug out of stoneware, and you want the final fired height to be 10 centimeters. Well, since we know stoneware shrinks about 13%, you just add that back on. You'd want to start with a wet clay piece that's around 11.5 centimeters tall. See? Simple. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This usually brings up a few questions, so let's just do a quick lightning round of the stuff people ask most often.
First up, is this just a thing for wheel throwing? What if I'm hand building?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The laws of physics don't care how you put the piece together. Whether you're throwing, coiling, or building with slabs, the principle is exactly the same. You just have to plan for the final height, width, and depth. All right, next one. What do you do if you've got a mystery bag of clay from a friend, or you just can't find the exact specs online? No worries at all. Just use the average rate for that general type of clay, like we saw on the chart. Is it going to be perfect down to the millimeter? Probably not. But for most things you're going to make, it'll get you right in the ballpark.
But what about those times when in the ballpark isn't quite good enough? When you're doing a commission or you're selling your work.
For most things you'd sell, like a set of bowls, using the average is totally fine. But if you're making something that requires real precision, we're talking a lid that has to fit perfectly on a jar, then yeah, you're going to want to be more precise. And that actually brings us to our final point. How to go from making a really good guess to getting dead-on perfect results when it really, really counts. So think of it this way. Using those average numbers, that's fantastic for most of your work, for planning things out and just general making. But when precision is everything, nothing, and I mean nothing, beats testing your own clay in your own kiln. And doing a test is way easier than it sounds. Seriously, you just make a little test tile like a little ruler, say 10 centimeters long, out of your wet clay. Fire it just like you'd fire your normal work. Then you measure the fired tile and calculate the difference. Boom. That's your personal shrinkage rate. So, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. Use the averages to get yourself 95% of the way there. It works for most things. But for those times when it absolutely has to be perfect, take that little extra step and test your own clay. It gives you total control. So there you have it. Shrinkage isn't a mystery anymore. It's just a predictable part of the process, and now you have the blueprint to plan for it. So the only real question left is, what are you going to go build with all this new confidence?